have been for, I guess, about a year and a week now. So it's been an eventful year. But we're excited to be here. We are part of this community, and have been for, gosh, since 1998, I believe, is when we opened up our branch here in Stockton. And we're in the Lena community as well, and the Freeport community. We are a full-service bank and offer all kinds of products and services, as well as other ancillary products that Doug is here to share a little bit about as well from the trust and investment side. So hopefully today is kind of a good picture of all the services that we provide and help that we can give our community members and our customers. So Doug, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Doug Riedl. I'm in the investment center and kind of a hybrid guy. I also work in the trust department, so I get to wear two hats. One hat deals specifically with the banking, and then the FDIC kind of overlooks us, and then I switch another hat on, and then I become in the investment world, and the SEC looks over me, or FINRA. So those are two big parties that like to keep their nose in my business, but for good reason. So I help with the trust services and the investment services. We're going to just touch a little bit on some of that stuff here at this point in time. Do I get it from here?
Sure, and then I can finish up with some of the deposit bank side of things. You want to do it that way?
Perfect. Okay. So this is the deal. Community-minded, challenges with smaller communities. I've seen and heard what is one of the biggest things that we want to do is we want to make sure that people are using the services inside of the community. That's been a challenge. Why is that a challenge? It's because all these other services are being offered outside of that. I don't need to say, you can go to Walmart, right? A lot of those products people possibly could have gotten here. We fight it with big banks. We fight it with big advisory firms. Charles Schwab's, Wells Fargo's, JP Morgan's, right? People can go and get those services. And it's not getting easier. What's ending up happening is these people can get out online and they can really see it and become part of it. They figured out how to get people's attention and get them to use those services. It's impacting my business. People can go online right now, go to a Vanguard, they can open up their own website. And when they open up their own website, or not their own website, their own accounts, right online. What are they missing from us? They're missing that advice and that personal contact. So what I'm here to share, just as an intro, is that's the thing, the little gift that we're all given that we have to take advantage of in our small communities, right? Some of the hardest working people in this community are here that took the time to come out and be part of this. Not that everybody's schedule can work out, but that's the efforts that have to happen. It's the same commitment that we have as a bank, that we have on the investment side. We are offering these same services. Another challenge and a myth I'm here to debunk is that people who are from out of town have more knowledge, right? So they must be professional in knowledge, but that's not the case. The fact of the matter, we offer a ton of great stuff here in Stockton. We offer top of the line services, top of the line products, very, very, very competitive rates. And we're talking from borrowing money to putting your money away from retirement. So I'm only here to share with you that's our commitment, which is very similar to yours. And we recognize the challenge, and it's coming faster and faster. We found that little piece that we all have is that personal touch. If you carry around a personal touch and you are good with people and you truly care about them, it will reflect on how people see you in the community as a service or as a provider of products. So,
Leading off of that, though, I'll jump off of that as a good lead-in for the whole community banking thing and talking about being in the community and how important that is, and with how you can go out and do online with other providers. And it's the same thing from the bank aspect. Like Doug said, there are people who you can go online and get a checking account or a savings account that pays a whole lot of great interest. But the difference in those monies is they're not being reinvested back into your communities. We pride ourselves in giving back in terms of service, giving to not-for-profits, organizations, functions, schools, you name it. That is one of our missions, is to serve our communities. And so those dollars that are being deposited here are being lent back out to the communities for small businesses, large businesses, all kinds of businesses that are looking to start up and bring tax dollars and people and visitors back into our communities. So that's how we differentiate ourselves. We're here to be your financial partners from creating products that work from the time you're born to what Doug is gonna share, to the time you retire and move on to a whole nother sector of life. We wanna be your financial partner from the beginning to the end, and we've set up all the products and technology we believe that will help you get from here to there.
Yeah, thank you. That's good. So I'm just gonna give you just a little flavor of the departments that I'm a part of, and I'm hoping to share with you something today that you can take away and be thinking about right away. So my first hat on the bank side is just trust. A lot of people are curious about what trusts are. We're not gonna go deep into there. We offer there's a lot of opportunity for you to learn about trust, the different types of trust, whether it's with an attorney or an attorney specialized event. And of course you have access to a website like ours, where you can go on and learn about who's all involved and what are the services that are provided. All I'm gonna share with you this is the word trust itself means that you're trusting somebody else to do something for you, right? That's what trust is. It's something that you put together that says, this is what I want. And then you ask professionals to assist you with that. Professionals that we have right here in this town, from help me with the money side of it to help me make sure that this gets to where I want it to go. Whether it's because somebody left a large chunk of money to a family or to the Stockton Chamber, you know, whatever it is, it's our job to make sure it gets to the right place the way it was supposed to happen. The other side of this is the investment world. So let's just say I take off a hat, let's flip over to the investment world. In the investment world, what I do is I'm a financial advisor. I give advice on people's money for whatever goal that is. My specialties are around retirement planning and retirement analysis. Right? So that's where I spend a lot of my time. I have a really, really cool toolbox that is all sorts of drawers. So if you ever been to the shop, drop your car off, and you ever look at one of their toolboxes, awesome, right? They got every drawer, little drawers, big drawers. I got one of those toolboxes for the stuff that I do. I've got stuff that's super safe, stuff that might be a little risky, but I go to my toolbox after I begin to learn about these goals that people have. Doug, this is how old I am. I am 45 years old. I really want to retire at 65. I don't even know if I'm on the right path to get there. I wouldn't even know what tools to use. That's when we learn about what's going on in their goals. That's my job. I can turn around and say, guess what? You got a flat tire. We're going to use this iron right here. Or, oh, you need a turbocharger. We're going to need these tools. So that's how we work. It's driven by whatever the time frame is, and it becomes the most appropriate. So that's it in a nutshell. Trust services, investment services. Two little offshoots that people aren't familiar with that we do at Citizen State Bank is insurance. So we do life insurance, all different kinds. We do disability insurance. We do long-term care insurance. We don't do, I think we do crop insurance, right? We got crop insurance. We don't do we do mortgage insurance? So we don't do health. If we did, we probably wouldn't do it very well, so that's why we don't do it. But that gives you a little flavor. So the last thing I want to leave you with is something that I think is very important, and it touches a lot of people's lives, and I think it's always important to revisit it. Are you familiar with the term beneficiaries? Okay, so beneficiaries, somebody's going to be the benefit of something. There's a lot of different items out there that somebody could be a beneficiary of. Trust. And this is the part where you guys interact. IRAs, familiar with that? Any other ones you can think of?
Property?
Beneficiary of property somehow, right? The estate, right? Somebody's gonna become a beneficiary of your estate, absolutely. I just mentioned one earlier, life insurance, right? Okay, I only mention these things because it becomes very important for people to try to remember to look at their beneficiaries and keep them up to date. It is recommended that you look at your beneficiaries once a year. A lot of times, I will meet with clients and we'll go to their beneficiary page, and one of two things have happened. One, we didn't have a beneficiary on really important stuff, right? Or two, we didn't have a contingent beneficiary. So if you remember, a beneficiary is the first person to receive it. What if that person's not there? Where does it go? Well, it would go to the estate and have to be settled through the estate. Or there's contingent beneficiaries. That's the next in line to get them. It's very, very important that people keep an eye on those. Big life changes become an important time to look at them. What if I went through a divorce and I forgot to change my beneficiary? That happens. But guess what? If.
Well, then you gotta take away.
There you
go. Beneficiary.
Good. So if that, something happens, a triggering event, typically death, right? If that triggering event happens, and you've got the wrong beneficiary on there, do you know how happy that wrong beneficiary person's gonna be? Because that's the rule. That's what was left. Worst case scenario, I've actually seen family left out, where it went to a husband and wife, and it went to a wife who subsequently remarried, and left that to their spouse. Well, the wife passes away, and the remarried person had children, they end up with it. So all the way back here, where all the hard work was, and we're putting all this money and getting it going, that person that started that out, none of his descendants got to be a beneficiary of that. So it's important that these little things are looked at. My tidbit for you is that just take a look at things that you think that you had to choose beneficiaries for. Make sure they're correct. Make sure you have contingent beneficiaries on them. It can save a lot of grief into the future if for some reason they could have been corrected and weren't corrected. That's my tidbit.
Go ahead.
I have a question.
Yeah.
With the beneficiaries, like I have 3 children, so I have my life insurance at work for all 3 of my kids. So my one son is in the military, God forbid something happened. So his percentage then, do I have to have a contingent on each one? So like if one of my children passes away and his percentage, so then I have to have add someone?
Not at that point in time, depends on how you wanted it. If you truly, of the 3 children that you have and one's deceased, you truly wanted the other 2 to equally get his share, then you're all set to go, right?
Okay.
Now, if that child had children.
Yes, and
And you
that's
felt-
where I'm at right now, too.
Okay, so you think it's important that those, your grandchildren would get it, then that's when you're gonna wanna add a per stirpe, that it goes to the descendants of the original beneficiary and not get broken up to the other ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
I better change that.
A lot of times we see contingents second to spouses, right? Because spouse primary is pretty normal. And then the contingents are children. But you just gotta keep that into play, because if you don't keep up with them, all of a sudden there's no spouse, and then one of the children are out, but you really wanted some grandchildren to get it, you run the risk of it not getting where you ultimately would have liked to get it. And it was probably great when you're younger, right? But as we get older, grandchildren show up, you know? We started out without them, now we have them, awesome.
And one of the other things that sometimes seems to get missed in the trust area is funding the trust and making sure the assets are titled in the name of trust if you create a trust for yourself. That's something to always make sure you're going over as you build assets. You have to put these assets in the name of your trust if you have a trust created.
Yeah, trusts are a great tool. They avoid probate.
Yep.
They keep a lot of secrecy.
Yep.
And you can.
Created legally with a legal document. A trust is through a legal process.
So if you have a trust that you met with an attorney and that you created and you set your guidelines on there, also have beneficiaries. What we find in the trust department is people pay all that money to get this trust. They go to an attorney, they spend a bunch of time, they talk about all the stuff they want done, they walk away, "Ooh, that was good, I got this piece of paper." Well, they forgot to put the stuff into the trust that they wanted to take care of and protect. And all of a sudden, there's what's not in there goes through probate, it becomes a bigger hassle. But good point, very good point.
I'd make the comment too that we don't create the trust, like you said, the attorney
Right,
does.
attorney.
We manage it.
We administer it.
Yeah, or, yeah.
So we can do living, there's living trust, special needs trust, there's all kinds of trusts that can be
So I'd be able to
created.
come to you to set that up or would I go to the attorney first?
You go to the attorney first. We have the ability, we have trust powers at Citizen State Bank, so we could be named, in a lot of cases, in some cases, they don't want the burden to be on children if I would pass. I don't want my children to have to get into a bad situation that might create animosity or anything like that, and it's a lot of work to be an executor of a trust. So we are capable of being that executor and carrying out that trust and that will for you as a corporate fiduciary duty. We can do that and alleviate
So if you
some of
build
that.
your own trust, you keep control over it. It's just yours, you're the
Right.
person involved,
You
you're
own
the
it.
trustee, so you're calling the shots on your own trust.
Right.
So what Amy was heading toward is that you can have Citizen State Bank either assist you or some trustee, or have what we call a corporate trustee. And that's the power that we have, is the ability to act as a corporate trustee. I can't tell you how many times everything looks normal in a family situation, and we sit around the table, and you realize they're not even close to normal. And you have a dogfight happening over a picture
A
of
recipe.
grandma
uh,
or anything. You know,
Anything.
you're like, oh, what do you do? We saw that problem with digital, right? We just said, go make a copy. But it's very hard. There's some emotion could get involved. A lot of times that there's some really tough decisions on how assets get split up. And if there's fear that it might have some impact, a lot of times people use us as a successor trustee because we're gonna read it and interpret it as is, and it's the final shot. Boom, then it's not left to two siblings that decide, well, was that the right decision or not? Not the
Is that
decision
what
anymore.
mom wanted? Yeah.
So we can act as a peacemaker sometimes. But more importantly, besides a peacemaker, you get a high level of professionalism and some
Knowledge.
experience, knowledge through the trust department.
What's it cost?
All depends.
I knew you were
You knew you were gonna say that.
But just a run of the mill, I mean, is it a flat fee, is it a, a percentage of the value of the estate? Is it an hourly charge for what you put into it, combination of all?
All above.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the way you ended that, it's perfect. So, we're not gonna charge you to create the trust because you're gonna get that done in an attorney, right? We find that it's somewhere between $1,000 and $2,000 is about where they're at, depending on how much service they give you for getting things put into your trust. That would be an estimate. Once you are hiring on to for our services, depending on what part of our services you want, and for instance, you said, I just want these assets, I've accumulated these investment assets, I want you to manage those assets, then there would be a fee. What's really, really important to take away from here is we are super competitive. All of our portfolios are under 1%, and that's great. Now, if you were to say, okay, I don't need this services, what I really need is when I die, I need somebody to settle my estate, I need someone to look at this document and make sure that everything I ask for gets done the way it's supposed to be. Then it's gonna be a percentage of the size of the estate. So that's a little bit of a variable. The only hourly thing we would do is if we had to maybe track down some stuff for you. A good example is sometimes we'll come across people that don't have cost basis on some of their stuff, and we end up having to send a person out to find it, and then we'll charge an hourly fee. That's an example, something along those lines.
Now back with your other hats you said you had on your investments.
Yeah.
One time a guy told me financial advisors, you always hire them by the hour, you never hire them by the percentage.
Could be, and I think that's a real preference to what you got. 'Cause what's the most important thing when you're gonna have an advisor? You need to have trust, right? You need to have a relationship with that person that you can communicate. And if you can get into that conversation, you both can agree on it, that's the perfect spot you wanna be, right? Do I have an answer to whether that is the right, by the hour? I will say this, the only way they're probably gonna do it by the hour is if they document the conversation that they had with you and any time that they had involved in the portfolio. So depending on what that turns out to be, whatever that dollar amount it would be, I don't know, everybody charged by the hour, right? So, but it would be a great
accurate analysis.
Well, yeah, and I think the point was, if I'm paying you by the hour, you're working for me, just you and me, and that's it. But if you're working for Charles Schwab, let's say, you brought that up, well, who's their allegiance to?
Sure.
They gotta look good at their company.
Sure.
If they wanna keep their job, so. that's
But
why
they also have to
lots of
look
time.
good for you, to
Right,
maintain you.
right.
Because, you know, you don't wanna get to the point where I say, okay, Doug, manage my investments. I'm gonna pay you by the hour, but you didn't pay him for the hours when the market tanked. Or when the market went up and didn't react for you or thought for you, and you're like, gosh, why didn't you do that for me? Look what happened. Well, you didn't, that's not the arrangement. And so you wanna be careful that you make sure you really get the value and you really get out of it what you want. That's probably the best thing, is to say, what do you want out of this relationship?
And some due diligence always.
Yeah,
Look at what are the competitors offering.
right.
You know, see that everybody's in the same price area. If part of your question was alluding to the allegiance of who's really benefiting, that is a real issue in the industry, right? Because if somebody's pushing a lot of high commission products, right, you know, we might have an issue there of who you're really serving, you know. So I think that, you know, there's a flavor of that out there. That they're always trying to clamp down on, you know. But at the end of the day, it's gotta be you and your comfort, and hopefully you don't get the lesson round one, you know, that everybody's figuring straight shooters.
I think it's, you only do it once in your life, the process,
Mhm.
you know? And if you find out at the end you picked the wrong guy,
Yeah.
the wrong people, you know, but we're not sitting there, I don't have 4 financial advisors giving me advice, and I can choose which one's performing better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, say, you put your trust in a person, and that's usually the personality, more than, because you can make figures do anything you want them to do.
Yeah. At the end of the day, if you're not feeling the love and you're not feeling the comfort, something's wrong, right? That we are truly on the same path. I know where I'm heading, you know where I'm heading, and you're giving me good advice, and I feel like we're getting the good advice, we're on that same path. If that's not happening, something's clearly wrong. Yeah, you could have a bad market, but if you both talked about it, and you already knew that was part of the situation, what's that got to do with anything, right? That should be part of my plan, right? We react to that. But you bring up a lot of really, really good points, and getting to know and making sure that you are, you know, working with somebody who, one, is there for you. And I think that's probably circling around back to the community thing, right? When we first started, I think that's where we're gonna excel, right? Right, with the people that you work with, that personal interaction. Are you seeing my picture? So if you get a robo-advisor, we call them now, are they gonna really see your big picture and be reactive? I don't know, but they're gonna be general. So there's a place for them. But at the end of the day, you know, are they asking you about your grandkids and how your trip was? And boy, you're gonna need some money for another vacation. That one went so well. You know, are those things happening? Is that part of your big plan? So, yeah, and you know, well, there's a really, really, and that's kind of a combo question, combo statement, and I love it, and I think there's a lot served just by our conversation on that.
I think that's why, we set up some culture standards about 2 years ago now. And one of those main culture standards that we focused on, from trust investments to banking products, is the trustworthiness, the kindness, the honesty, the partnership, and we're here for you in the community for all those things, and want you to have trust, investments, and deposit accounts. Because like Doug said, I'll jump off of that, we have lots of tools in our toolboxes that we've created as well, and that's why it focused at, from birth, again, to, okay, what do our college kids need, and what do our young adults need, from deposit products to loan products, and then what do you need as you move into retirement? Okay, how do we, as you start to grow those investments and your cash, how do we help you how do we protect it with FDIC insurance? And those are the knowledge and the skills that we like to bring, and have another one of our culture standards being that knowledge base for our community members who don't do this every day, but we do, and so we try to guide and help with the protecting of your assets as well at the bank to make sure you're fully covered. Technology is one of the areas, and Jack brought it up with my password's locked out, and and it becomes a challenge, and so we're always taking those kinds of scenarios that are happening and saying, how can we improve upon these things for our customers? So we've spent a lot of time and research into our technology and making sure everybody has the skills that they need, all those products that they need, but we also want to recognize, that, I'm done. I also want to recognize, there are people who still want paper statements, but there are people who don't want paper statements, and we want to make sure that we are serving all of our community, not just one sector. What's good for one is not always good for the other, so we have technology for those who really embrace it and enjoy it, and you can do every single thing that you really almost want to do except visiting with one of our wonderful CSR people on this device. And we keep building upon it annually, from from debit cards that are instant issue to picking pictures on it to all kinds of great services that we can provide for all different aspects of life. And so all kinds of loans, fixed rate mortgages. We can offer 15, 20, 30-year fixed mortgages, all the way down to a car loan and everything in between. Small businesses, we enjoy working with our small businesses, finding solutions to help them be successful, and as well as our ag customers that we help as well. So we like to be able to service everyone within the community. So yeah, does anybody have any, and on top of that, I'll end with, just because I know it's going to be close to questions and all those other good things,
CV's starting to sell.
another piece
Right next to the pie.
that actually has been taking off, and I'll leave some handouts here. We have a trip department at Citizen State Bank. They have focused on what kind of destinations are people looking for, and they reach out, and we have some great trips being planned, and you have a CSB rep that goes on these trips and basically plans these trips for you, make sure you have a great day. One is the Frank Lloyd Wright estate visit, so they're taking a bus trip there. Door County up in Wisconsin. All the accommodations will be taken care of for you, food, trips, and just a great experience. And then
Spending money?
a new musical
No.
for our beloved Cubs fans. Miracle, which is what it will take this year, I think. Already. Somebody forgot to tell them the season started. So these are just a few that are coming up, just in, as well as they're planning a big trip. We plan a big trip every couple of years. They're going out east this year to Boston and Massachusetts and maybe some Rhode Island, kind of hitting some of those corner states there, connecting states, and it sounds like it's going to be a great trip. And so if you ever have any questions about that, you can stop at any of our branches. It's online. Give us a call, and we would love to sign you up and bring you along.
Okay, I went on one of your trips.
Did you?
once. I was the youngest by far.
Well, then you need to start recruiting and bringing some people up with
Let's say
you.
they picked up at Stockton, then Lena, then
Yep.
Freeport, but everybody knew everybody. They all go together.
They do.
You know, just about every one of them just keep repeating. The minute a new one comes out, they say, here's my deposit, they don't care where it goes, they're just going on the trip.
It's planned. It is a social event.
It is.
And it's great, and when people come back, I mean, it's very well detailed and very well planned, and a lot of great stories come out of it, so we're excited about that.
Well, and I think the thing that's nice about it too is they change up the destinations all the time, and then with that too, obviously some people hate to travel alone or have that fear about planning a trip too, and all that stuff is like I said, taken care of. You put your deposit down, you pay your money, and like you said, it's a social time too.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago they went to Ireland, so like destinations that some people might find interest in. Like I said, that's always a nice thing about how these bank trips work. Finding unique places, because obviously some of those places of Floyd Wright one, I would never think of that or anything like that. So
They're talking about bikes and balloons. I mean, we have a trip committee, so that's what they do, and they sit around and they toss this out and come up with great events.
And then everybody gets out of that meeting that they have for it, and they come visit me and say, Doug, I need some of my.
Might need some money. Or they say,
I need
hey
a
Brock
distribution.
or Sam, I need a loan. So, that is a full-service bank for you. But we welcome any questions, and anytime you need to stop in just for any kind of financial advice or help or guidance. We've started going to the schools. I told the girls, some of the girls on my team, that we started doing a Jeopardy game in the schools. And we go in and we teach a day of consumer economics and just talk about general banking concepts. And I said, I think we need to put this in the lobby and start seeing how, as people come in, let's start quizzing everyone because we're having a lot of success with it, and
It's fun.
education is important to us. If anybody has any questions or.
We could have questions all day.
What would you suggest to a person who didn't know even where to start with your services? Has some assets, maybe not too familiar with your bank, where would you suggest they start first?
I would first start just by coming in and visiting with our CSRs.
CSR.
So they can get an idea of what you're looking for, because we have all kinds of different deposit products, and then they can help you decide, okay, do we need to bring in other services? Do we need to look at investments for you based on your goals? Do we need to talk about trust, or what's your goals? And they can help plan those proper deposit accounts for you between CDs and savings accounts and checking accounts, and they can do all of it for you right there and help you also transition. If you're moving accounts, they can help you with switching over your automatic roll, your deposits, your ACHs, your direct deposits. They can help you get all that set up and moved over for you. So I would recommend just coming in and visiting with one of us, because it's just an easy way to share all the wonderful things we can offer.
Come in for a tour.
And a tour.
Yeah, see what's going on.
See the whole.
We have coffee bars.
We have coffee bars. We do.
I'm somebody who, of course, I already have a will set up, and I have a health care directive, and all those kind of things, and a beneficiary, and an alternate. What would be, and I don't have a large portfolio, but the IRA I do have, they are the same folks are the beneficiary, et cetera, on that. So for my property, right now, what would be an advantage for, not maybe for me, but for my beneficiary if I put the property in a trust?
Into the trust.
Yeah, it made a trust. I don't have a trust existing right now.
Privacy is a big one.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it just, whatever the value of that property is or whatever,
it just
it's
goes.
not public knowledge anymore, so that's one. And two, depending on, you may have already done some things with the property, but if you haven't, and it's worth over $100,000, you don't want to be in a position where you have to actually probate the whole estate. You did all this great work to non-probate the estate, and you have this one little piece out there. Well, I shouldn't say little, it's a
Right,
house that
depends.
raises a family, right? But this one thing that just took you over the 100,000, whether it was a house, and a lot of people use that 100,000. Think about, are you going to do that with every car you buy? Probably not. That's why that variance is in there. So, efficiency and privacy would hands down be the two biggest reasons why you consider doing that.
And that $100,000
Threshold.
threshold that you identified, that would be everything in my estate? You
That
know,
didn't
is it-
get titled
Depends
to
on how I
trust.
set up a trust.
Yeah, if it didn't get titled to trust, it would be everything that was non-titled to trust. Yeah.
Under the 100,000.
And
that
are
could be
you
pretty-
talking about a revocable trust, or this is a
If you were to
separate
create one, if that,
trust?
you could, there's two types, there's revocable and irrevocable. That's a decision you have with your attorney to get deeper into the, which one's most
Right.
comfortable.
It depends on my
90
cognitive ability
Yeah.
as I continue to age.
Yeah, so 99.
I can't change this on myself. We're gonna make it this.
99% of the trusts that we see are revocable. And then upon death, they become irrevocable, right there. And then sometimes there's offshoots, and there could be trusts created under will. My will says a trust is gonna be created, so there's a lot of different ways of putting those things together. My suggestion to make it easier is have some thought with somebody like our department. We're really good to get those initial conversations, so when you head into speak with the attorney, you might have a little bit of a flavor.
Right,
of-
and I'm already
Yes.
halfway there with the attorney anyway, the only thing I haven't gone towards is the trust,
Sure.
so.
Amy Powers is one in our trust department, Janet Lindeman, Marlis Johnson, you know, any of it, Doug, any of us
Uh-huh.
can give advice
Okay.
or direction to get you started, get the
Yeah,
wheels
I just didn't
spinning.
know if it was something worthwhile I should be
It might
looking
be.
at, but it,
Yeah,
it
might
doesn't
be.
hurt to learn what the options are.
And there's some
Right.
things you can do without a trust that are
Mhm.
very effective too,
Right.
Okay,
especially with the house.
and it doesn't hurt to, like anything else, get a second opinion.
Right.
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I think lunch and just social, and, you know, if you have questions as you eat, we're gonna be around here till 1, right? 1? Okay.
Whenever the
Thank
rent
you.
runs out, right?